everybody, and welcome back. I am the Sovereign, and this is my court. If this is your first time in attendance, hello. Please consider hitting the subscribe button before you leave our kingdom. Does this count as a court council? I feel like it counts as a court council. This will be added to the court council playlist. So, welcome to another edition of the court council, where I discuss current events, YouTube news outside of the other topics that occur here on my channel. I am very chatty, and I happen to be up. It is actually bedtime. I just did a live stream about an hour ago, right before I put my brother to bed. So hello everybody who's seeing me right after the live stream. I had no intentions on filming. As you can see, I am fully dressed in my lovable onesie that you guys have seen so many times. I mean, we haven't done a little onesie chat in a while, so what the hey, right? Impromptu video. Because there are things going down between Ethan Klein and Trisha Paytas of the very popular Frenemies podcast. Now, I am not an avid watcher of Frenemies. However, it is because of Frenemies that I did subscribe to H3 so that I could at least keep up with what was going on in Frenemies, because the dynamic there was very interesting, and the topics that they were bringing up, they were really discussing in a truthful way. They weren't really sugarcoating anything. They were being very honest about it, and I liked their dynamic. They kept it fun, they kept it honest, they kept it insightful, and you guys know I'm a fan of dress up, so I had never even paid attention to H3 before, but once Frenemies came online, I was definitely there. Now, what is currently transpiring all over Twitter and what has recently been released in the latest, possibly last, Frenemies video is basically the disillusion of their friendship and the Frenemy podcast as a whole. If you didn't see what went down, I will kind of give you the clips to what kind of happened, and then I will summarize. So a bit of backstory: Trisha Paytas is currently in a very serious relationship, I would say even an engagement, because they're engaged, to Hila, Ethan Klein's wife's brother. So they are all in a sense family at this point. Trisha is engaged to Ethan's wife's brother. So there's a connection there. There's a dynamic there. Hila is Ethan's wife, and they also do a podcast together. He does one with his wife. He does one by himself. He does one with Trisha Paytas. But I think Frenemies is probably the most successful one. Now, in this latest, possibly last, podcast, the situation came up where Trisha and Ethan were talking about pay rates and the different cuts and the divisions of assets and business and finance that came with the podcast. And it didn't seem like it was going to lead to a gigantic argument at first. Trisha Paytas brought up the valid point that she feels like Ethan has this kind of bad habit of repeating content, talking about the same thing multiple times, which I would agree with her, because I have seen his other podcasts. You know, I'm nosy and I peruse and I check up on YouTube. I'm very engaged in all the happenings of YouTube world. So I have seen his other podcasts and I've been watching, and he does tend to regurgitate information, topics, subjects, lines. He's done that. So I think Trisha was pretty valid in bringing that up. And the other issue was that, moving on with that same kind of concept, is that the ideas that she's given Ethan for the Frenemies hasn't really been taken into consideration, because the people behind the scenes working Frenemies are actually people that work for the H3 production company under Ethan. Ethan is technically the one paying them. Ethan is technically their boss, which is why Ethan in the podcast was saying he takes an extra 5% because he is footing the bill for providing the staff. However, in Trisha's mindset, she's thinking, because I'm giving up 5% of my even cut for these people who are, not to say that they don't deserve it, they definitely do, but she's giving up money so that these people can have their fair pay and can be provided for. She feels like she should have some sort of say in the direction of Frenemies. And this is where I think this is a miscommunication issue. And just a tidbit, I do have a series coming out where we are able to talk about relationships, because I think that's a very fun topic and a lot of people connect to it. A lot of people have thoughts on it, and my channel is very much like almost girly-esque, and one thing girls love to do is talk about relationships, right, and boys. So I will be bringing that to the channel. That will be the upgrade series. But this kind of gives me the sense that even though Trish and Ethan are not in a romantic relationship, they are in a relationship of sorts. And the issues that we're seeing with them happens in people's relationships quite often, actually. where one party isn't feeling like an equal part of the relationship. They don't feel like they have an equal share of power. Trisha does not feel like she is valid or that she is being listened to. And then Ethan worsens her feelings. And we all know Trisha's very sensitive, okay? We know, most people who have seen Trisha in any state know that her emotions can be up and down. Like, we know how she is. But Ethan really worsens things at the end of the podcast, where he almost becomes dismissive of Trisha's feelings, saying, oh my God, yeah, sure, you're just fine. Everything's just fine. Women, ladies, we all know how we feel. We've had men do that to us, where they're very just like, oh, sure, okay, whatever you want. Like, it's condescending, it's a bit insulting, it's irritating, and we all know, like, Trisha, she seems like she's been doing her best to really keep a handle on her emotions and her mental state. But, I mean, women in any capacity is going to be annoyed by what Ethan did at the end of that. Now, as the argument was starting to kick up, it really seemed, especially to like Ethan, that Trisha was making this whole disagreement about money. She seemed very upset that Ethan's getting 100% of the highlights, plus this extra 5%. The way she's presenting her issue is coming off as if her issue is purely financial to Ethan. And there I can defend Ethan in saying, the deal that Trisha has is fantastic. The deal that Trisha has is 100% totally fair. But I just don't think Trisha's very good at presenting her issues, what's really bothering her. I think deep down what's truly bothering her is the fact that she's seeing Ethan get all the, the money and all these finances. He gets all the control. The podcast is under H3, and what she truly wants is to feel equal. She wants to feel like she gets to put some input into the direction of what is both of their babies. Ethan and Trisha have both shown that they truly do love this podcast, and it's very successful. They both seem like they're very invested in it, but Trisha doesn't have as much pull or say as Ethan does, and that's rubbing her the wrong way. She never should have made it about a financial thing, but she did keep stating this is why I say I don't think she's that good at really stating what her issues are. And a lot of people are just not that good at communication. But throughout the little discussion or, turning into an argument, she was saying, I don't feel like my ideas are being implemented. I don't feel like I have staff that I can talk to. I don't feel like I have the support that I need, somebody to have my back when it comes to what I want to happen on this podcast. And the way Ethan was behaving is as if he's the top dog, as if he controls everything. And that's what's going to rub her the wrong way. And quite honestly, it would rub any woman the wrong way. Any man sitting up here acting like he can control everything. She brought up him moving their studio to downtown LA as if she really had no say in that. And I mean, I don't care if my man is paying all the rent and all the bills in our house. You don't move our household to a different location without consulting me first. That's just what a partnership is. But the way Ethan was behaving was just like, I make the calls, I make the shots. And once again, what woman's not going to have issues with that? And then he moves into telling Trisha how she feels. And ladies, once again, we all know that's a no-no. Lady, we've all had that scenario where a man comes and says, oh, are you on your period today? Because you're acting kind of like, how much that sets us off when a man comes to us and starts acting like he knows something about how we feel at that moment. Because Trisha did seem frustrated, but I don't think she was truly upset. But what will upset a woman is if you tell her repeatedly she's upset. Because if you come to me and I'm totally fine and you keep telling me, well, you look upset. Are you sure you're not upset? You're acting like you're upset. Eventually, you're going to irritate me to the point where I actually do get upset. But at the time, I don't actually think that she felt upset. Trisha was 100% valid in her concern. She should be made to feel more like a partner. She should have more of a say in the Frenemies podcast, because she had a point when it came to pointing out that Ethan has this bad habit of recycling his content, recycling titles. I have seen that myself, and she said other people besides her have pointed that out. And had she had even one staff member who was on her side or saw things her ways, maybe the entire podcast as a whole could have benefited from her insight. But he almost shrugs it off like it's no big deal. But as I was saying, what really upset Trisha was his dismissive attitude towards her concerns. And then him behaving almost condescendingly as this, oh, you're not upset, like, fine, everything's fine, oh, sure, she's fine. Like, that's very irritating. When you behave that way, in such a dismissive way, it's almost like every bit of knowledge and words that that person tried to impart to you, you didn't take seriously, or it just went in one ear and out the other. Everything that she was presenting, every valid point, was just flung to the wind. It's just like, yeah, sure, you're not upset. Sure, yeah, she's doing it again. She's doing the Trisha thing. Like, that's so demeaning, and it just really worsens the situation from a person who's feeling like they're not being heard, you showing signs that you're not listening. So Trisha's emotions definitely started to get the best of her towards the end of the podcast, but she did a great job in kind of trying to just be like, please just end this, let me go. Like, please just end this, let me go, let me go. Like, she didn't throw things, and she didn't rant and rave or cry or, like, just break down. She was just like, I need to leave. And then once Ethan starts to realize how upset Trisha really is, he kind of does things that we women have experienced numerous times, where men try to go back and kind of smooth things over only after they have severely pissed you off, which Mama Sovereign's getting ready to walk in this house right now from work, and I could totally ask her. She would say, that's not going to work. Once you have driven a woman to that point where she just doesn't want to hear you, like she's truly upset, that's not the time to clean up your mess. Like, you got to suffer the consequences at that point. So he does try to walk it back, but it's too late. She's upset. She feels invalidated. She feels like she's not worthy, or she's not worth the time and effort. She does not feel like a valid member of the team. Ethan damn near called her the help. Like, you're just the talent. You're just here to work. And she's just like, for Trisha's level of devotion to Frenemies, like, she really looks forward to it. She likely does have ideas of ways to make it better, and she wants to feel heard. This is a miscommunication. This is a lack of communication and understanding on both ends, both parties. Trisha never should have made it about money. Never even should have talked about money. Finances never should have been brought into anything. The staff deserves what they get. Ethan having to pay the staff out of his pocket. He's doing what he's supposed to get. The deal that Trisha has is 100% fair, but I don't think that that's what she wants. She brought up the money, and she brought up everything she brought up to point out the inequality that she faces. She doesn't feel like she's being treated fairly on any end of the spectrum at all, whether it comes to staff or hiring or decision making or ideas or all. She just doesn't feel like it's fair. And instead of validating what Trisha was feeling, and there are many points where she's actually correct, instead of validating Trisha, Ethan dismissed her, which is a great way to piss a woman off. Oh, Mom, I wanted to ask you a question, because this happens to you all the time.
Hey, I'm here editing, and I feel like I was being very sympathetic to Trisha, who seems like she's the most hurt from this situation. And of course, we're all very aware of how mentally she's been. If you've seen Trisha, we all know that she goes through some mental issues. So I was being very sympathetic to Trisha, but I don't want to make it seem as if I'm pointing or blaming everything on Ethan, because Ethan is to be commended for the amount of patience and compassion he has had for Trisha throughout the entire broadcast of Frenemies. He has been a very supportive friend, and it's very obvious that he tries to be a good friend, family member, husband, and boss to everybody involved. As I said, this issue can be levied at the feet of both individuals. Trisha kind of does force Ethan to walk on eggshells, which he shouldn't have to. He shouldn't feel like he has to walk on eggshells around somebody who truly cares about. But Trisha allows the most minuscule minor inconvenience to not only completely deteriorate her mental stability, but ruin a very close relationship that she and Ethan both treasure. She allows the smallest inconvenience or the smallest miscommunication or the smallest argument or problem to completely destroy the relationships with the people that she loves. And that is to be placed at her feet, regardless of the mental issues that she may face. That's not an excuse to allow her to mistreat those around her or the people that she loves. It is to be taken into consideration, her treatment of the crew, especially if the crew is saying, we don't feel comfortable, we don't want to film with Trisha. There's a reason for that. And that's not to be, not acknowledged at all. Though clearly there was miscommunication and misunderstanding on both parts, Ethan wasn't truly understanding what Trisha wanted. Trisha's not truly understanding what is needed, for Ethan, for the crew, the way that things work, because obviously, as I said, there's no reason for her to be complaining about a very fair contract. This was not a situation that needed to be blown to the proportions that it has reached. There was no reason for Trisha to allow something this small, because it's a minor disagreement, to destroy something that they both clearly love so much. And as I woke up this morning and kind of checked in on YouTube happenings, Trisha had uploaded a video kind of expressing a bit of regret on how things have turned out. And this is what happens when you allow your emotions or a slight negative, issue to snowball into something too big for you to handle. It never should have reached the heights that it was. And putting myself in Ethan's position, I would be pretty pissed off, and he's handling it very well. I would be very, very upset if a close family member of mine or a close friend of mine let something so minor destroy our relationship, our friendship, and our business that we built together, and went on about doing that publicly, kind of blindsiding me and not even letting me know what was going on. I would be pretty damn hurt if someone did that to me. Trisha really blindsided Ethan, and honestly, he's handling it very well. Regardless of her emotional state, her emotional issues, that is not an excuse to allow her to mistreat the people around her, her friends, family members. That's not an excuse to abuse them and making people around her feel uncomfortable, making them feel as if they are not secure, as if they have to tiptoe around you. That is just an anxiety-ridden situation that Ethan and the crew do not deserve, and she needs to acknowledge the position that she puts these people in. So in the situation, though there are points where Trisha is completely correct, there are many instances where she is out of line. Her behavior, her attitude, her insensitivity to other people's feelings, wants, and needs, her inability to properly communicate what she wants and what she values, that's entirely on her, on top of the fact that she allows any little minuscule thing to easily destroy her most treasured relationships, which makes the people in those relationships with her feel like they're not worth much. So like I said, Ethan's handling this, honestly, I think better than I could have, because I would be incredibly hurt if I was made to feel so insignificant.
Go with this again.
Yeah, he gave a very dismissive, like, oh, here she goes, like, instead of listening to what she wanted to bring up, were valid points. That's why I was like sitting at the camera. It's something that every woman has experienced in like every relationship we've been in, is when we try to bring something up with the man we're dating, they're like, oh my God, here we go again. That's so irritating.
We could do the same thing to them. They just won't.
It's so irritating. But the moment you realize you truly piss us off, it's like, wait, no, okay, wait, no. Like at that point, we're mad. Now we're mad. I told you guys Mama Sovereign would be coming home from work, so she just got here, and I showed her the clip of Ethan and Trisha getting into it, because I knew that she has, as a woman, she's had experience with this. Obviously, we all have. This is a communication issue, though, and even in this video, Trisha was simply asking for transparency, which is what I think she was striving for when she brought up the financial issue of the podcast. I don't think she's saying someone doesn't deserve what they get, but she wants to know where that money is going and what use it's being put towards. She wants to feel like she has a 50-50 stake in the podcast. She doesn't want to feel like the talent. So that's what Ethan was missing. That Ethan just wasn't understanding that she wasn't asking for more money. It wasn't a money problem. She just wanted the transparency. She wanted to feel like a partner, and it kind of went over his head. And then he did the whole condescending attitude, and that actually did frustrate her. And then once he tried to walk it back, like all women know, when she pisses us off, we gotta go. We just gotta go. Like, get away from me. You just let her cool off. Hopefully they're able to like work it out, because the Frenemies podcast has been a great benefit to the entire YouTube platform. They've discussed a lot of important issues and have been unafraid to tackle certain things that other people would have been. And even I've enjoyed it, and I don't really watch Ethan stuff or Trisha stuff or podcasts in general, and yet here I was tuning in every now and then to the Frenemies podcast. So Ethan, Trisha, you're never gonna see this, but I said work it out. Like, work it out, because the dynamic is valuable, the podcast is valuable, the family, the friendship. Trisha, babe, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Just get it together. Ethan's a good friend. Ethan's got to learn to be a bit more understanding. He's a doting husband, but he does not know how to handle all women, clearly, but he'll get there. He'll get there. Just praying for the best for both of them. And the return of the Frenemies podcast in the comments section below. Let me know what you think about the situation. Where do you think the miscommunication happened on behalf of Trisha and Ethan? Is there anything that you would add? Do you watch Frenemies? Like, what do you think about it? Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Why are you standing back there? Mom is watching me do the outro. Okay. Thank you. I love you, and I will miss you, but I will be back in a future video. Stop staring at me. Bye! You can't be over there doing that. Why are you doing that?
Swallow.
What do you mean swallow?
Saliva.
Are you watching my saliva on camera?
I gotta go to bed. Your candle smells like weed.
What?